Hello students, welcome to this Frames 5 video tutorial on bricks, part 2. Please open your bricks file in Frames 5 from your applications screen. Alright, so this is what we created in the last tutorial. We created our video game board. So now we're going to start the action. Alright, so make sure that nothing is selected, or you can deselect by simply clicking anywhere in the frame, and then let's duplicate the entire frame. In the timeline below, notice that we have now 2 frames. So make sure you've clicked on the second frame. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to decide the path of this ball. So let's go up to the shape menu and let's choose the arrowhead. Okay, we're going to keep the stroke white because our background is black. And we're going to reduce the stroke width. All right, so I want you to decide the angle that this ball will take headed downwards. Now, I don't want it to be angled right at the paddle because I want to show the movement of the paddle to meet the ball. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roughly estimate the center of the ball, and then I'm going to create an arrow downwards. Okay? So we're going to erase this arrow later. It's just showing us the path of the ball. Okay, if you don't like that angle, you can delete it, you can undo it, and then do it again. So this ball is going to end up at this point, and I'm going to have to move this paddle along to rebound that ball. All right, so let's deselect. Let's go up to View, and let's turn on our onion skin. Okay? All right, so what we want to do is we want to move the ball down the path of this arrow. We want to keep the ball centered on that arrow, and we want to have a little bit of overlap here. So you notice how much I've overlapped. It kind of looks like a Venn diagram. So I want to kind of keep that overlap consistent. So I want to remember how wide those two balls overlap. All right, so let's deselect. Very important that you deselect. Remember, this is the position of the onion skin. That shows the position of the ball in the previous frame. It's not really there. All right, so make sure you've deselected, and let's duplicate the entire frame. Now, I want you to pull that ball down that arrowhead, down the arrow, making sure that you try to keep that overlap consistent with the previous frame. All right, let's deselect. Let's go up to duplicate. Let's continue this pattern. Move the ball, make sure it's centered on the arrow, make sure I've got a consistent overlap. Let's deselect and let's duplicate. Let's keep pulling the ball down. So now that you've got your environment established, the rest is very simple. It's just very tedious. It takes a lot of steps. As an animator, you have to be very patient. All right, let's deselect and duplicate. Again, my goal is to get the ball down to the end of the arrow. Okay, just take your time. It doesn't matter how many frames it takes. In the animation world, the more frames you have, the smoother and the better the animation. All right, so deselect and duplicate. It's going to take me quite a few frames to get this ball down to the end of the arrow. But you get better at it, and it doesn't take as long to kind of set the position of the ball. Okay. Now, the more accurate you place the ball, the more natural the movement of the ball will be. Okay, I'm getting towards the end here. I'm going to keep deselecting and duplicating. Okay, so as the ball is getting close to where I think the paddle is going to meet it, I'm just going to stop. Okay, so let's go up and hit save. All right, so you've played a version of this game before, I'm sure you have. The whole point is to move your paddle left and right. You really don't have control of moving it up or down. We're going to move it left or right so that we can bounce the ball off of the paddle. So you got to think now of you yourself as a gamer. So at what point would you start moving the paddle? So let's go back to the original screen. Now the first screen, we have no idea where the ball is going. So if we go to the next screen, we can see, oh, it's moving downwards. Maybe we're not going to move the paddle yet. Next screen, still moving down. So advance a couple of screens, and this is probably where, if you were playing, you would realize, oh, okay, this ball is heading down towards the bottom, and I'm not going to be able to meet it where the paddle is. So maybe it's time to move my paddle. So what I've done is I've moved to 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th frame. You can start on the 6th frame, you can start on the 7th frame, it doesn't matter. Okay? All right, so what I'm going to do is, now the onion skin is still on, I'm going to move my paddle slightly to the right because I can see that my paddle is not going to hit the ball where it is. So I'm going to move it slightly to the right. Now I'm going to click on the next frame. Onion skin is still on, and I'm going to move it slightly to the right. And let's just continue on. And I'm going to continue. Feeling pretty confident that I'm going to be able to position my paddle in the right spot. Okay, keep going. Okay, my paddle's probably in a good spot now. And if you were playing the game, if you knew that the paddle was in a good spot, then you might stop the paddle. Or you might want to bring the paddle a little bit more just to be safe. Okay, so I've actually stopped the position of the ball in a good spot because the ball has yet to hit the paddle. So I think that's what's going to happen in the next frame. All right, so make sure everything is deselected, and then let's duplicate the frame. All right, so let's move the ball down, and at this point, I want to have the ball hit the paddle. Now, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to have that consistent overlap that I've done with all the other frames, but it's more important to show the ball hitting the paddle. So if you need to go one more frame or two more frames, that's okay as well. Okay, so this is a very important frame where I show the rebound of the ball hitting the paddle. Okay, so now where is this ball going to go? Well, it was coming down at an angle like this, so it's probably going to bounce and go in this direction up here. So let's go back to the tool menu and let's click on the arrow again. Let's reduce the size of the width. And what I want you to do is, again, from the middle of the ball, I want you to decide what angle this ball is going to shoot upwards. Now, I can shoot it through the gap here, or I can shoot it at the first layer of bricks. So I'm actually going to put it at the first layer of bricks here. Okay. All right. So now what I want to do is, now that I've got this arrowhead established, or this path established, I want to go back and delete this path. Because if I start duplicating frames again, this arrow is always going to be duplicated. So what I want to do is, in my timeline, go all the way back to frame 2. I want to click on this arrowhead, and I just want to hit the delete key on my keyboard. And then I want you to continue. Don't go too fast, because what you'll find is that you'll start deleting things you didn't want to delete. So I'm just going to go slowly. Make sure I'm not going to move any of the objects by moving my mouse too abruptly. And I'm just going to go in and delete this first path, or this first arrow. And I've made it all the way to my final frame, and I'm going to delete that one. Okay, so let's have a look at what we've done so far. So let's go up to View and turn off the onion skin. Let's go to frame 1. Actually, let's save at this point before we view it. Let's hit Save. We've clicked on frame 1, and now let's press play. So what you're looking for is, you're looking for a smooth motion of that ball, and then the paddle meeting the ball, and then we have contact. Okay, so let's continue the path, the second path where the ball is moving. All right, I'm on the final frame. So let's go up to View. Let's turn the onion skin back on. And then I want you to hit Duplicate. All right, so now we're moving the ball upwards. Same rules apply. Keep it centered on the path line and have that consistent overlap. Make sure you deselect and make sure you go up to Duplicate and continue the process, moving the ball upwards now. Make sure you deselect and duplicate. Again, your goal is to move that ball as smoothly up the path as possible, headed towards the brick. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop at this point where I see that there's going to be a collision with that brick. Okay? All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to go up to Save. This concludes this Frames 5 video tutorial on bricks part 2. Please continue on with the next tutorial without calling Mr. Ueda over. Thanks for watching. Bye.